Well, with China and the U.S. accusing each other of espionage, internet crime has been thrust into the spotlight. Earlier, I spoke to a principal and team lead for the Forensics and Investigative Response team at Verizon Enterprise Solutions. I first asked him how financial institutions are fighting cybercrime.
Most of those cybercrime events are very, very easy in terms of their attack methods. So the majority of data breaches are the compromise of things like really easily breakable or, in many cases, default passwords. In fact, about half the time, 48%, that's the case. An additional 29% of cases are basically initiated by simple phishing scam emails. So the bottom line is that most of the entry points that drive a lot of those data breaches, both inside and outside the financial industry, are actually quite basic. And being able to address just those very, very basic issues covers most of those things.
Now, you mentioned phishing scams, but what are some of the key trends in cybercrime right now?
You know, I hate to say it, but it's really a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same. So although you have organized crime groups that are perpetuating the majority of cases, around 55% in last year, that's been true for the last decade or so. I realized that in recent months there's been certainly attention paid to espionage-type cases, that is, either state-affiliated or in some cases state-sponsored attacks that are designed to steal not necessarily financial data, but specifically secrets. I think to some level there's more attention paid to those types of cases than is necessary based on the statistics. Those cases are about half as frequent as standard organized crime cases. So as I said, those organized crime cases, which have always occurred, still do occur with those espionage-type cases that are kind of trailing behind them.
So which is more worrying, cybercrime or hacking between nations?
It's still the organized crime-type cases, both from a financial perspective and just a damage perspective, I think are still the more serious type crime, in that there's a direct impact to the victim, either financially or reputationally. A lot of those espionage-type cases you never hear about, and because of that, there's not a reputational damage to the actual victim.
So is this an issue of infrastructure that's currently lacking, or what's at fault here?
Every single data breach case, I mean 100% of cases that occur, at some level the victim organization is not doing something that by policy they think they're doing, or executive management thinks they're doing. For example, you might have an organization that thinks it has a very strong password policy. Like if you go to the shelf in the CISO's office, there is a policy around strong passwords, but that password's just not in play when you actually look at the infrastructure that's implemented inside the organization. And that's every case at some level that miscommunication or mismanagement is in place.
So does that mean that cybercrime protection, the cost for it is also rising?
No, in fact, I would say the exact opposite. There's this perception in the industry that a higher amount of investment would lead to a higher amount of return. And what I typically say to people is that people that think that new and advanced and expensive technologies can solve their security problems understand neither the technology nor the security problems, when in fact most of these things can be prevented by very, very simple controls around changing default passwords or not clicking on a phishing email. In fact, about 29% of all of our cases have to do with a phishing email, and that's not a technology problem, that's a person problem.
And coming up after the break, Indonesia's central bank made a surprise move.